hope you're having a wonderful and purposeful day. Welcome to the 8th episode in the series on the life of John Newton. If you remember, Newton had just been ordained and was assigned to the church in Olney. In this episode, we'll look at the story behind the song Amazing Grace, the world's most popular hymn written by Newton. Newton loved the people of Olney very dearly. The people in Olney were not highly educated, and readings from the Book of Prayer and the King James Bible did not help most people. So Newton often accompanied his sermons with hymns to simplify and emphasize the central theme of his sermons. Many of these hymns were original compositions written to accompany his weekly sermons. Newton had perfected the art of composing catchy songs during his seafaring career. Back then, he mostly used his talents for mockery, making fun of the many captains he sailed under. He was now using it to proclaim God's glory. Amazing Grace was one such hymn that Newton presented at church on New Year's Day, January 1st, 1773. Seeking to emphasize God's grace. There are a few possible reasons why Newton desired to emphasize God's grace through this song on this day. Newton had developed the habit of keeping a diary. At the end of 1772, Newton was finishing his second diary. He had started this one sometime around 1756. A few years after leaving the slave trade. As he was finishing this diary, he reflected on God's grace in his life, how God had led, protected, and guided him through all his adventures in life, through his captivity in Africa, through the trials and storms he faced as a sailor, and through his personal struggles as he pursued ordination in the Church of England. Newton also used certain special occasions such as his birthday, wedding anniversary, and New Year's Eve for spiritual reflection and giving thanks to God. This New Year's Eve, he had a lot to be thankful for as he looked back on all the recorded events in his diary. It was with this grateful heart that Newton preached his New Year sermon from 1 Chronicles chapter 17, verses 16 to 17. As he thought about God's goodness and mercy, Newton definitely saw some similarities between King David's life and his. How God had marvelously delivered both characters from their despair and rescued them from their sins. The amazing grace and mercy of God was evident to Newton as he recognized his unworthiness. With this self-reflective sermon in mind, Newton penned the words of Amazing Grace, seeking to emphasize God's goodness and grace to the gathered listeners. He delivered both the sermon and the song on January 1st, 1773. Now, there was another potential reason behind this hymn. As mentioned previously, Newton would add hymns to emphasize the central theme of his sermons. Most times he would write them for the wider audience, but there were occasions when his sermon and song would address the specific need of a particular church member. On January 1st, 1773, that specific member was William Cowper. Cowper had dealt with deep depression and anxiety in his early life. Newton invited Cowper to move to Olney when he met him at the Unwin's residence. Cowper, who was like an adopted son to the Unwins, moved to Olney with Mrs. Unwin upon the sudden death of Mr. Unwin. Newton had been impressed by Cowper's intellect and selfishly desired his company. They spent much time with each other and stimulated each other's poetic talents. Sadly, beginning in 1770, Cowper's mental health began to go down again. It began with the passing of his brother and some personal financial issues. By late 1772, rumors in Olney about Cowper having an affair with Mrs. Unwin finally broke him. Newton recorded the declining of his friend's health in his diary without a lot of details. Perhaps he was aware of Cowper's inner struggles. Cowper suffered hallucinations and was convinced that God had abandoned him completely and that there was no hope for him. Perhaps Newton was aware of his friend's plight as he delivered this song on that beautiful day. Did he sing these words to convey to his friend that God's grace was free to everyone that called out to him? We can only speculate. Well, the combination of these circumstances led Newton to compose this timeless classic. And this is the story of Amazing Grace. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. Take care. God bless you all, and I'll see you next time.